If you like this video, make sure to visit our Vimeo page and follow us to get the latest update.
We have completed so far. I just want to refresh that. So we started with the overview part of TM, and then we completed the organizational structure. So where we have created the planning, execution, and the purchasing part as well as the selling part. And then we went through the master data. So in the master data, I've shown you what are the different types of master data we have in terms of locations, both in S4 as well as in standalone. Transport zone. Then we covered the entire transportation network part. So transportation network basically means, the entire transshipment points, then the transportation zone, the resources. We also covered schedules as well as, the default routes, right? So this is all we have covered so far. And so now okay. And one more part we covered, we also covered the business partner, if you remember. Okay, so because we have now covered the business partner, so we will see what are the other elements. Yeah. Okay, so we'll see what are the other elements of the master data which is connected to the business partner. Okay, so one of the master data which is not mandatory again, okay, but you can use it, is your career profile. Okay, so I just go into this master data, and under master data, if you go into this general tab, under general tab, you'll find there is a thing called as a career profile. Okay. So what is a career profile? So profile with which you can actually characterize or signify the transportation capabilities of a career, that is called as a career profile. So first of all, I tell you why it is not mandatory, because you can understand that for every career, if you start preparing so many, profiles, it will be a huge data, which is actually then needs to be accommodated in the particular server, right? So, but many client wants to use it because they want to identify what are the capabilities of career, and based on that, they want to select the best career according to the transportation planning process. Okay. So this career profile object is used to store information which is used for multiple careers. That means you can also use the same career profile, but the only thing is that you need to have this profile, in the business partner. So you can have either one profile for different business partner, or you can use the same profile for multiple business partners. But generally, what is recommended is that for one career, you should only have one profile. You should not use multiple profile. Okay. Now, when I say profile is being created, so basically the important information which is used is that within the profile, you can specify the set of products which is transported by the carrier, in which transportation lane this carrier exists, and what are the different parameters specific to that lane that carrier can have, that is also specified there. In case you are transporting any specific product groups, okay, because we can have multiple product groups. So what are the product groups, and whether the carrier has the capability to transport those product groups or those transportation groups, that is also another feature. You can also specify what is the equipment type and equipment group which that profile can assign. And also, in case there are any fixed cost which is associated while transporting. Again, this cost is not the real cost, but this is only used for the purpose of planning. So when you are doing any type of planning, a generic planning cost is associated with every carrier, and accordingly, you can also determine which cost is higher and the lower cost carrier can be preferred. So this career profile which you are seeing will be used when you are actually selecting a career as part of your transportation planning. Now, what are there in your career profile? That's what we are going to see today. Okay. So before you actually create this career profile, okay, you can actually see some of the configurations linked to that. Like, for example, product freight group, freight port sets. These you can select. What happened? Yeah, so you can actually create it beforehand in your configuration, and then from the selection menu, you can select those values. So if I go to SPRO, If you go here, if you go to transport management, if you go to SCM basis, and under SCM basis, okay, either you can go here or there is some other thing. 1 minute, let me show you one thing here. If you go to transport management, and under transport management, if you go to master data, and under master data, if you go to transportation lane, they have changed this path a little bit. Let me just type here. Define product rate groups. Yes. Okay. So it is here. Okay. So under transportation management, you can do it here as well. So here you can specify the product rate groups. Okay. So what is the product rate group? So if you go here, you can specify that you can assign. So if I click on this, so these are the used to group the products based on freight code and freight class. Okay. So freight code and freight class means what? Basically, when you are transporting any type of product from one point to another point, you can assign a specific class for every product which you are transporting, maybe class A, class B, and that class can be defined based on specific parameters of the product. Okay. So for that, you can specify this freight class as well as you can also associate a specific freight code for that particular group. Okay. So either you can group here. So if you go here, you can click here product freight group. So I say that I want to classify, I want to transport a ambient product. Okay. So you can give a product freight group as ambient. Okay. And similarly, you can also define the product freight code set. So product freight code set means you can specify any freight code on here. For example, IFRA1. So this is the freight code for that product which you are transporting. And then under this, you can specify what is the code. So I say it's and here you have to assign the freight class. Okay. So either you can create it from here or you can also create it from another config name notepad. So if you go here, you will also find the same thing under master data transportation management here also. Okay, so under so you have here transportation service provider. So there are two modes by which you can do it. You can either go from this master data, and the master data, if you see under transportation lane, you have the transportation profile, and under profile also you get the same. Okay, so it's any one of them that you can do. And once you have done this, so now once you have done this, the next question is how will you assign this in your career profile? So to assign this to a career profile, this is your career profile. You click on this create button. First of all, it will ask you what is the business partner. That means what is the career against which you want to assign. Okay. So suppose if you want to assign for any type of career which you use. Okay. So for example, I want to do it for my C trans career. Or other because okay. And then you will get all the carrier details in the header level, and in the item level, these are some of the things which you need to fill up. First of all, from where to where this carrier is moving. So whenever you are maintaining any specific carrier, okay, it is important that you should know what is the start location and end location, or you can do based on start zone or end zone. So these three parameters are actually part of your transportation lane. So whenever you are working on any specific transportation lane, you can always put this in. Okay. So I'll come to the transportation lane later on. So for example, if it is moving from WM01 and my customer location is this one. Or rather I do it from port, for example, go by truck. Means of transport is truck. It will give an error. Transportation lane does not exist. Okay, so that means always keep in mind when you are actually trying to create any carrier profile, and if you want to maintain the source and the destination and the means of transport for which you want to create the profile, your transport lane is mandatory. So I actually why I started you this, because I wanted you to show you that this is the common error message which you get. And if you get this type of message, that means first of all, you need to create a transport lane. So I just hold this for some time. Okay, and I'll create a lane first of all. And in order to create a lane, what you need to do, you need to go into my master data, go to the transportation network, and here you need to define the lane. Okay. Can anyone tell me what is the transport lane from the wording? Any idea?
Is it like a dedicated route from some source to a
Yes.
destination?
Correct. It's a dedicated route, because whenever you see in your transportation network setup, you can have thousands of routes, right? So it is very difficult for the planner to select for which route to which route, which is the carrier is available, and for which the correct means of transport you are going to have. So transportation lane is not a mandatory thing. Is not a mandatory thing, and you can also live without it. But in case you are using any planning feature, you have to create a transport lane. Okay. So when I say planning, here I am talking about automatic planning. That means in case you want to plan using an optimizer, you need to create a transport lane. If you are not planning using an optimizer, then it's not required mandatory to create a transport lane. But whenever you are creating a transportation lane, there are three things which you need to know. Whether the lane is to be created from start to end. So it can be a start location, destination location, start zone, destination zone, or start location to destination zone, or start zone to destination location. So these parameters are important, and in addition to that, you have to specify which is the means of transport which is responsible for moving the transport from point A to point B. So these two things you need to actually have it here. So in my case, I'm just creating a particular transport lane from my source location WM01 to my port of Bremen. So I will put here source location, and I will put here port of Bremen. Okay. And in addition to that, you will see there are some other lanes as well. Like for example, this tab will indicate only from where you are starting. And if you want to create transportation lane on a mass maintenance level, so you have to specify from which location to which location you want to copy the data. And also there are various selection criteria here based on which you can do a mass maintenance or mass creation of your transport lane. It can also be between start location to zone, destination to zone. You can also do a criteria selection of location based on location type, source and destination. So these are the different types based on which you can create or you can do mass maintenance. And this is for creation and this is for change or display. So we'll not do mass maintenance as of now, we'll do with a single hand. And once we have created this, So transport lane means a prefix route itinerary and how you are going to cover that route. That is the meaning of transport lane. And you have to click on this create button. And when you click on this create button, as I told you, apart from the location or zone, you also need to maintain a particular means of transport. So if you see there are two windows here. One window is a means of transport and the second window is the carrier. So whenever we are creating a means of transport, that means you need to specify this point to this point. I'm going to cover by truck. So I click on this create new entry and system will ask me what is the means of transport through which you want to cover. So my means of transport is Z01 underscore FTL. Okay. And then system will ask what is the start date, what is the end date. Why this is required? Because from here to here, you can maintain multiple means of transport. And in case the multiple means of transport do not overlap with each other, so that overlapping part is controlled by the start and end date. You cannot have two means of transport for the same start and end duration. Okay. So maybe you are using a means of transport which is expiring after say 2 years because maybe the resource has become old or it is not able to support or available after certain time. So in that case, the validity period will be 2 years, and after 2 years, a new means of transport can be added. So let me give this particular transportation lane. Okay. And here, once you are creating the means of transport for the perspective of planning, system will ask whether you want to fix the duration or you want to fix the distance. If you want to fix the duration, then you can give what is the approximate duration. If you want to fix the distance, then automatically system will generate the proposal because the source and the destination latitude, longitude, altitude will determine the distance automatically. So suppose I want to fix the distance. Okay. And this is the transportation cost. So when is the transportation cost means again, I tell you this cost is not the real cost. These are the planning cost. So when I come into planning, you will see that the cheapest means of transport, the cheapest route optimization, all these things are being influenced by the cost here. These are not the real cost which we pay to the carrier. These are the cost which is associated for doing any types of planning within TL. Because these are hypothetical costs. So if you know that for one place to another, I'm going to use a specific means of transport, then try to assign a lower cost to that. So that in the end, when the optimizer, the planning engine, will try to do a simulation and check which is the cheapest means of transport I can assign while doing the shipment, then system will automatically create this. Okay. So I can specify a means of transport cost and a minimum means of transport cost. Or I can specify, okay, is €1,000 per miles per kilometer. Okay. Then comes the description. I think all of you know it. Now, once you have defined this parameter, okay. So the thing is strategy. Okay. So what is the strategy? The strategy is basically how the carrier will be selected for this particular transport. I'm not giving any carrier name here. The carrier name will come in the lower section, but here you are just specifying on what parameters my carrier will be selected. So if you want that carrier selection should be done for this particular transport lane, then you have to put a tick mark here. And first is priority or cost. That means on what factors my particular carrier will be selected, whether it will be selected based on cost, whether it will be selected based on priority, whether it will be selected based on the summation of cost and priority, or it will be on the multiplication of cost and priority. So obviously I want to select a carrier whose cost is lowest and priority is highest, right? So if you want to do based on priority, then I can always specify priority. Similarly, cost origin. So you see in the cost origin, this component T actually is the real-time cost which we use in TM. So we have this pricing procedure in ECC, right? For doing the cost calculation. Similarly, in transport management also, we have a framework called as a TCM framework. TCM stands for Transportation Charge Management Framework. So this is the framework based on which the charge calculation or real-time charge calculation happens. And once this charge calculation happens here, in that case, you can also specify some other factors. One is your internal cost. So internal cost you can specify under carrier, and external cost is actually not currently being used because it is mainly used in case you are using APO application, which we are not doing so far. So I say I want to do a cost calculation. That means my carrier will be selected based on the lowest cost, which is calculated by transportation charge management platform. And this is my continuous move. Can anyone tell what is a continuous move here? Anyone?
It will come back to the original location.
No, that is not right.
I mean,
It will
it will deliver the goods to the, I mean, say consignee A, and then it will also come deliver goods to the consignee B, and then make a route back to the origin point A.
Whatever you are saying, that part is only applicable if you are selecting round trip.
Okay.
Okay, round trip means you have moved from A to B and then you want to come back to the original location. That means in the freight order, there will be two stages. Shipping point to my customer location, stage 1. Stage 2 is customer location back to my shipping point. That is round trip. Simple trip means it does not have any plan to come back to the source location. So that means it has gone from A to B and now it is capable to handle one more subcontracting freight order, which will push him from B to C. Okay, so that means it's a continuous move, but it is a simple. It is not coming back to the original depot location. Depot location means the source location from where the shipment originates. So simple moves A to B, B to C, C to D to go on moving. And if you don't want to use continuous move as a criteria to select your carrier, then you can say no continuous move. We are not doing any continuous move here, so we are doing no continuous. Okay. Next part is your business share. Business share means what? Again, this is a very, I have not seen any project which has implemented these two functions, the allocation and business share. The business share means, for example, suppose, you have a contract with PGI truck lines that, okay, I want to have, like, for example, in 1 year, there should be 1,000 shipments with 600 shipments going to PGI truck lines, 400 shipments going to FedEx truck. Now, how will you specify this? This 600, 400. So it's a 60%, 40% ratio, right? So that means in one transport lane, if you want to predefine that, okay, I am going to assign 60% of my business to my carrier X, 40% to carrier B. In that case, you can use this business share concept, and within your carrier, you can specify how much is the business share percentage. And this 600 or 400 value, what I am specifying, that is whether it's on monthly basis, weekly basis, yearly basis, that is what we have to specify under allocation. So business share is something which is not very used in shipper process because you don't know whether that particular, because it completely depends on the customer order, and you don't know whether you really need to have so much of shipments in 1 year, right? It varies from yearly to year basis. But if you are using a business share, then you can specify a tolerance. Tolerance means, suppose if it is exceeding 600 or if it is below 600, obviously there will be a penalty cost for excess and shortfall. So this excess and shortfall amount is actually determined based on the tolerance. If I am specifying 10% tolerance, so 600 of 10% is 60. That means if your shipment between the carrier and the LSP is less than 660, then the shortfall is there. You have to pay him some amount. If it is above 660, still you have to pay him some amount because it is excess of that. So that's why, many clients, I have not seen any client who has implemented this because they are not in a position to know how much actually a business share can be allocated to a specific carrier. So that is the concept of business share. And here the allocation means how much allocation or how much you are going to allocate your shipment process to a particular carrier based on the frequency, whether it's monthly basis, daily basis, weekly basis, yearly basis. So that's what your allocation is about. Any question on this means of transport? And when you click on this system will ask, shall I create a proposal? Yes. Any question? No. Okay. So once you have defined this particular part, you can create another means of transport, because right now I've created only one. So if you want to have multiple means of transport, you can again click on create and you can do it. So let's create one means of transport, and here for then comes the lower part. So this part is mandatory if you are creating your lane, but this carrier maintenance part is not mandatory. So if you go into the carrier, it will ask you what is the business partner. So I say my business partner is, for example, FedEx. Okay. And here you can specify. So in the above case, if you specify internal cost as a criteria, then that internal cost amount can be placed here. My criteria was based on priority, so I give a priority 1 here. In case you are using a continuous move, then you can also specify what is the continuous move window, because every continuous move needs to flow through a window. And when it is moving through a window, you can also specify what is the maximum distances and what is the discount. Discount means in case a particular carrier is actually reaching or covering maximum distances, then there is also some discount percentage which can be given in terms of the cost allocation. Okay. And this is the part where the share of business. So in case you are using business share, you can give here 60% and 40% to carrier B. Okay. And here you can specify whether this allocation, which is dependent on the business share, is for what? For minimum capacity is what? Maximum capacity is what? You can specify that values also. And finally comes the question of tendering. So tendering means, anyone knows what is tendering?
When we are looking for sending the proposal to multiple parties, we can do tendering.
Yes. So tendering is another way of doing a carrier selection. So whenever you are selecting a carrier, it is important to know whether that particular freight order or shipment has completely been tendered or assigned or given to a particular carrier. So for that, initially as part of the tendering, a request for quotation is created, and that request for quotation needs to be sent across to the shipper by the to the carrier by the shipper. And based on the request for quotation, which we also call as an RFQ, the carrier is expected to respond within certain timeline. And once the carrier is responding, the particular shipper will receive a document called as a freight quotation. And then suppose there are 2 or 3 carrier. So my tendering manager, who is the person who is responsible for doing all this tendering, will do an evaluation of this freight quotation, which is submitted by the carrier, and then he will select the cheapest carrier. That is what is called as a tendering. So tendering is another method of doing a carrier selection. Okay, and there are 2 types of tendering. One is your peer-to-peer, another is your broadcast. So peer-to-peer means what? Suppose you are floating the tender, and for example, you are floating the request for quotation to multiple carrier at the same time. So that is called as a broadcast tendering. But instead of sending it across to multiple carrier, if you are giving to carrier X, then to carrier Y, then to carrier Z, provided some time lapse has happened, both the submission and the response of the carrier. So that is called as a peer-to-peer. So in peer-to-peer, the RFQ is not sent to all the carriers at the same time, while in case of broadcast, it is sent to all the carriers at the same time. Okay. And once, in case you don't want to use tendering, that is okay. And tendering is only supported for road scenario. It is not supported for ocean or air. Oh, it does not exist. Okay. So you can give a query priority 1. Again, you can create a new carrier and you can give the priority 2 as well. And once you have done that, you can click on save. Any other question from anyone?
Yeah,
So
just one
we can
question.
assign,
Sorry.
we can assign multiple carriers here for a particular means of transport.
Yes.
And then we need to give a priority to them, or how is it?
Cost. Priority or cost. So based on the priority or cost, system will prepare a carrier ranking in the freight order. And from there, if you are doing manual planning, you can assign the best carrier in the freight order itself. So the sole objective of doing this is to assign the best carrier into a particular freight order.
Okay, and where we have, do we need to mention that cost within this carrier definition?
Cost, if you want to do the cost, then you have to indicate in the means of transport. Okay, so there are two types of cost. One is your internal cost. So if you can always specify the internal cost here. And if you want to do the cost based on transport charge management, then when you'll be creating a freight agreement, within that you can see the charges per carrier. So we have not come across to the charge agreement as of now, but in case the charge agreement exists and you want to do a carrier selection based on the charge agreement or charges, in the case system will validate which is the best or the cheapest carrier, and accordingly it will do a ranking of the carriers in the freight order.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, brother, quick question.
Yes.
So you mentioned that in ocean and there is no tendering. Why is it so?
Sorry, I'm not able to hear you. Can anyone hear him?
Yeah, I was saying we do not use tendering process in ocean. Why is it so?
Tendering is not supported in ocean because for tendering to happen, there is a lot of steps, lot of approval is required. And when you are considering a main carriage and on carriage like ocean or air, it has to be the operational timeline is quite reduced. You cannot wait for someone to do tendering and then leave the ship or air. Okay. So in that case, SAP has not included the tendering functionality for ship and air mode of transport. It is only applicable for road or truck. Okay.
Viri, can you explain some more around the mass creation of these transportation lanes? Like, because this is master data, this must be some kind of a cutover activity.
So transportation lane should always be considered as part of the cutover activity because these locations and all basically you need to adopt as part of the cutover. You cannot do the transport because these are master data maintenance, and master data maintenance should be done in every client. So whenever you are going for any TM implementation project, you will have a phase called as a data cutover, right? Or the data migration, right? So as part of the cutover, initially you need to do a data collection from the business that, okay, tell me which are the preferred carriers you have, which are the source to destination. I need to maintain the means of transport. All this information should come up in a data collection exercise. And once the data collection exercise is being fixed and being updated by business, so then, we need to check how the base this will be done, whether we use LSMW or whether we can use the standard code or whether we can adopt it manually. Because in one of the project I saw that the entire master data preparation was taken up as a manual approach because they did not want to pay for extra consultants and or not reveal the data outside the system. So in case you have that feature from the business, you can also do it other than manual also. Okay.
Okay. And otherwise, other than manual, you're saying LSMW is one of the approaches.
Yeah, LSMW, or you can, if you can call it through BADI also, you can do the same. So your developer will know all this conversion programs and all. And then from there, you can just run the program and you can basically see how the carrier selection works for this particular transport lane.
Otherwise, manually, is this the exact same process that you have shown? So
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Any other thing? Any other question on the transport lane? No question? Okay. Now, once you have this transportation lane created, that's what I showed you, that this transport lane has a relationship with your career profile. Okay, so when I go into this particular career profile, so first of all, it will ask me whether the transportation lane exists. I say yes, it exists now. Okay, so you'll see that this career profile is having all the attributes from where to where it is currently applicable and all everything. Then you have this freight code set. So freight code set means whatever code you're going to create for that product. So for example, if I have it for Germany, okay, and it will ask me for the means of transport. And this will be the freight code set. You can also specify whether this carrier is capable to transport any specific freight group of the particular product. So you can go into the product freight group. So it is capable only to transport ambient product. This is the transport groups. So when you are doing any transport group, you can also specify here what is the group of transport you are going to do. Suppose I'm only want to transport a dry product. And in case you want to specify whether this transport by the carrier is based on certain container types, that is my equipment type and equipment group, then you have to specify all this information. Like first of all, my starting point is this one. My destination location is this one. Sorry, Port of Bremen. My equipment group is container and it's a 20-feet container. Okay. This is a fixed transport cost. Again, these are not the real cost. This is the hypothetical cost, which is used for planning purpose. So in that case, my means of transport is this one. And this is a fixed transport cost. So this is how your career profile gets created. Okay. Any question? Clear on the transport lane and all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll just show you one application why this transport lane is important, so that you can. So I'll show this in S4HANA. It's the same thing. So if you go here, so let me show you how we can see the significance of transport lane. Okay. Any question where you are not following me, please tell me. Okay. I hope as of now what I've taught you is okay for everyone. My speed, my speech, everything is okay for everyone.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. In case you are not able to connect, let me know. That's why I ask this question after every maybe 5-10 minutes. Okay. Because all these are new modules, so that's why I want to be sure that you are understanding. See what I'm doing here. I just want to show you one live case of transport lane so that you can understand why this is so important, especially when you are doing automatic planning. Okay. So I'm creating a sales order, for example. I'm creating with reference to an old order so that you don't have to copy all the orders again. So this is my suppose optimizer plus planning. As I told you, the main usage is in the transport planning. Okay. So today I change this date 20th. And then I just click on the save button. 1416. I click a delivery. From sales order, I'm creating a delivery. Okay. So this is my delivery created. And if you see my freight unit got created, which is 676. Okay. So if I go to my cockpit, so I'll come into this profiling part later on. Okay. So I need to track my freight unit, which I created. So if you see my freight unit is 6. Yes. 73, 73. Okay, let me maybe they can use this. Maybe stock is not there. Just one moment. Let me just show you this part. This freight unit. I just see if there is no freight unit block and all. Okay. So this freight unit also work. Okay. So suppose I go to this 672. Okay. So I click on this 672. And then I don't select any resource. I just select my planning to be done automatically. That's why I click on optimize the planning. So you see there will be 3 freight documents created. And if you see here, if I click on this save button, okay, so there will be 3 stages which will be created for 673. Okay, so my first stage is from shipping point to NZAKL, then from NZAKL to USLGB, and then from USLGB to my customer location. And if I go on to my freight unit, you will see now that instead of a single stage, you will find 3 stages, right? And you see in every stage, the freight documents will be visible. So if I go on to the document flow, oh, very great. Sorry. It's 573 or 672, 1 minute. SP20, I think it's 672, I think. I opened the wrong packet. If I go into the document flow, yeah, sorry, it's 672, not 673. Yeah, if we go into 672 now, you will see when I go into the freight unit, there are 3 stages, right? SP20 to USLGB, USLGB to NZAKL, and NZAKL to customer location. So now, how this system was able to capture this. So if I go on to this, if I go on to the transportation lane transaction, and from the first stage is going from here to USLGB, right? So here you see I have maintained a transportation lane between first location from SP 2020 to USLGB, and I am using these means of transport. Okay. And because of this data, basically your particular freight order and this planning was possible because my transportation lane was there. That's why system was able to pick up my optimizer planning, always checks if there is a transportation lane, and accordingly it will create all your entire data. Okay. Any question here? And I have just captured it in a document also so that you can understand it. So I have created, so initially the freight unit was of a single stage. And then when I maintained, I did a planning automatically. Okay. And now once my planning was done automatically, system created 3 stages. Okay. So when this system created 3 stages, you see that for my stage 1, my default route was there. So this is the same thing. See, for stage 1, my default route is there. Okay. And similarly for stage 2, you will have your default route and your schedule. So for stage 2, you will have your schedule and default route. Same thing here. To go to here, it is your stage. Stage 2 is for your schedule and default route. Okay. And then if you go to stage 3, only again default route is there. So what is the master data required? Master data required, first of all, you need to maintain all the default routes because it is moving from shipping point to this US to NZ, NZ to customer location. Okay, then I maintain these two means of transport. Okay, and within the default route, you have maintained the carrier and all. Then I maintain the different means of transport. Okay, this is one I have specified in the means of transport. We'll not talk about the selection and planning profile. I'll just show you the transportation lane now. So if you see here, this is my customer, DOGCU02, right? This is my final customer, right? And then these are my different locations. So obviously one location will be my shipping point, another will be my customer location. And also here, if you see now, I have created the transport lane, SP22 USLGV. So that's what I showed you, SP22 USLGV. So this is a prerequisite that in order to do any type of planning, automatically you need a transportation lane. Okay. Similarly, we also have another transportation lane from NZAKL to customer. So that means if you go here, the third lane, NZAKL to customer. So if I go here, okay. So if I go here, NZAKL. To customer DOGCU02. So here you see we have a specific means of transport also maintained here. As I told you, carrier is not mandatory because we'll get the carrier from the default route. Okay. So this is why the significance is okay. So due to maintenance of our the transport lane, the means of transport. So if you remember the first transport lane, the means of transport was ambient. Okay, and for the second one, because we had a schedule, so it is directly picking up from the schedule here. And for the third stage, again, based on the transport lane, the means of transport is getting populated. So that is how the significance is about the means of transport. Anything clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's close this. Okay. Now the next master data, what we will see, I think this maybe perhaps you must be knowing this. So if I go to master data, if I go to transportation, if I go to general, we also you can specify the product. Okay. So I think all of you know how to create a material master and all, right? So when material master is set, you can basically check in product master. So product master transaction is this one /SAP APO/MAT1. So all the product versions of all your transportation means material information from your material master. Not all is copied, but mainly based on the views, based on the transportation and warehousing data, you can specify. So you can specify, okay, this is the product. I click on the display button, and this is created through the shipping model. Okay. So if you don't recollect what is shipping, we did this CFM1. Okay. So this is my product. Okay. You can see this easily. And in order to transfer your product, you have to go to ACFM1. So I'll go to material TM. I think this one I showed you last time. And in order to give your material, you just type in this material code, give the material code number, and then click on insert. And then you go to CFM3. So once the shipping is done, okay, you'll get to see the product master here. So always remember this product master, see it references a business system group. So business system group is ID8. That means this is the one which you created. That means this is my TM system from where this particular, sorry, this is my ECC system from where this particular, the business system group was created. And here you get all the information about material group, product hierarchy, country of origin, transport group, all those data which is there in your MM or your material master will actually come and populate it here. So this is the gross weight, volume, stacking factor, shelf life. So if you have some shelf life also to be maintained from your particular material master, you need to maintain the data here. Okay. So you can specify the minimum shelf life, the maximum shelf life, the rounding rule, etc. This is the unit of measure. So SNP data, ATP data is not applicable for us. In case you want to maintain any specific packaging material information in your ECC and you want that to come into your TM system, then all that which will be maintained in the ECC views will be coming here, like packaging type, packaging material group, the form name, maximum volume, maximum weight, maximum capacity, length, width, height, etc. And this is the storage tab. So storage tab means the tab which is used for maintaining all warehouse relevant information. Okay, if there is no warehouse related information, then you don't have to specify it. Okay. Any question on the product master? Clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Wherein, quick question about the product freight group. It's the same freight group field which we have maintained in ECC material freight group we are referring to.
So product freight group is specifically we are assigning it in TA in your
Okay.
career profile. Okay, so if you want to maintain, see this, so there are two types of things what you can do. Either you can maintain it basically at a product level also, or if you want to specifically assign a different code for transportation purpose, that way also you can assign a specific group. Because if you're doing it at the transportation level, they will come also, they will basically think, okay, these are the different groups of material which I can assign a specific product group. Okay, and that will anyway come from the product material master also. So yes, you are correct. You can maintain it here, but you need to make sure that the grouping of the product is obviously done under the product red group while defining the career profile.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So if you see here, this is the same one which I had created. And also if you want that specific serial number profile and all those information should be handled and come across to ECC, you can do it. And in case this product is relevant to dangerous goods, then the dangerous goods indicator profile should be there. Okay. So this is all about your major, you can say the master data what we have in transport management.
Hi Vinod.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Akash from ZaranTech support team.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, I can see, but you didn't share the screen.
I'm sharing the screen.
Yeah, please share the screen and go ahead. Okay.
I'm sharing the screen.
We can see it. Yeah.
We can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, screen is visible.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, this might be a technical issue from my end. I will take care of it. Okay. Go ahead and continue saying it. Sure.
Hello, Virendra, you are on mute.
Yes. Sorry. Okay. Now can you hear me?
Yeah, we're in.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there are certain configurations, what I was telling you, that which basically you can, use it, which you may not use it. That completely depends on the processes and the scenario. Okay. So those things I just wanted to highlight to you so that in case you feel it is required, you can do it. Okay. So first of all, under transport management, you have a tab called as the basic functions. And under basic functions, see, there is a tab called as a general settings. So whenever you are going for any specific general settings, there is a, you can define some handling codes. So first of all, let me show you the help button so that you can understand what does it do. So handling, sorry, more expression is there. Okay. So handling code means what? Handling code means basically whenever you are doing any specific type of product handling in your transportation process, based on the handling codes, the product the product stacking is done in your truck. Okay. And also, maybe I don't know how much of you have worked on commodity code. Have any of you worked on commodity code? Like you remember, like when we used to send the shipment for any specific material, and every product code needs to have a commodity code. Similarly, if you are handling, suppose dangerous goods, or if you are handling any chemical product with a specific frozen temperature. So in that case, the handling of those such products has to be different as compared to the other commodities, right? In that case, you can create your own handling code, and this handling code can be assigned in different other processes. Okay. So again, as I told you that this handling code is not mandatory. Even based on the handling code, your charges may also vary. Just to give an example. So in case you are using anything as a handling code, you have to maintain basically two parameters. One is what is the handling type code you are going to use, and secondly, what is the category, whether the handling is to be done external to the organization or internal to the organization. And this is the description. And once you have defined a handling code, obviously, you know how you are going to handle that product that can have some constraints while loading. Because why I'm telling you, because suppose you want to handle a product which is always above a upper deck. So in that case, your product, that means your resources should have certain constraints in dealing with that, right? Maybe there is no upper deck for enough clearance or specification there for that product to be maintained there. So that becomes the constraints for that particular resource to handle such type of product with a specific handling. So if you want to have that, then you have to create one handling code profile. So you click here and you can say, okay, handling code profile. And here you have to specify what is the constraints you're facing. Okay. So when I'm saying constraints, you have to specify whether if there is a constraint, whether such type of constraint should be considered for planning, should not be considered for planning, or in case the handling codes are identical to another code, then you can specify those code as well. Okay, so I don't want to consider anything for planning, so I can always put it as not relevant for planning. So if it is main deck above, not relevant for planning. And you can also specify the means of transport for this handling code profile. I did not save it over. It will save it. Okay. And in case this particular handling code is specific to any means of transport, you can maintain it. Again, as I told you, this is not mandatory. I've not seen any project using this, but SAP has given this option to do that. This is another thing, another important concept which you should know. So as of now, I told you that there are two types of transport. So one, which you are transporting a product or package, right? So in that case, the transport is a transportation process, right? And in this transportation process, we can use freight order, freight booking for your execution, right? But there can be additional services which we can ask for the carrier, like fumigation service, cleaning service, value-added service, documentation service, containerization service, insurance service. So there are a lot of other services in addition to transportation which we can consider. So those additional services, okay, for that we need to actually create a service group or service type. So for services means not your transportation process. In that case, all the objects which is created are captured in service order. So we can create a service order from a freight order, freight booking. And just as a freight order, freight booking has a charge calculation, we create a settlement and we create a service flow, service entry sheet. Similarly, a service order also has charges. So you have to do the charge calculation because the carrier is doing additional services in addition to your normal transportation, right? So he has to be paid for that also. There we again charge calculation is service order. You can do your own service entry sheet, service PO creation based on invest. So in order to basically capture the or create a service order, we need to have the list of all services, and that is called as a service type. So service type means a grouping of services based on which you can create a service order. In case service type is not configured, service order cannot be triggered because you will not be able to identify for what services you are actually paying to the carrier. And this service order can actually be created from the freight order as well as freight booking, etc. Or you can create it manually also or standalone. There can be different ways by which the service orders can be created. Okay. So you can create your own service type. In standard, SAP has given these 5 service types. Just give me a minute, 1 minute. Yeah, sorry. So any question you have on the services? Did you understand the concept of service? Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can understand that for every services also we need to follow the same chain of creating service order, service entry sheet, because you need to pay for the extra amount, right? So you can create your own services as well. So, and also sometimes, you need to pay the services based on the hour of execution. Hour of execution means, suppose if a carrier is providing service for 1 hour. So in the service order, you can specify start date, start time is this, end date, end time is this. That means based on the duration of the service, also you can specify the charges to be paid to the carrier. But whatever services you are providing, a carrier is providing, it always needs to have a service type in the service order. Okay, so if you want to have a service type, you can create your own group. For example, if you want to have it create here, 006, the container cleaning can be one service. And there is a concept called as a service type groups. So service type group means what? Service type group means in case you want to consolidate multiple services into one group, that is called as a service type group. Okay. So once you're having a service types, so in order to create a service type group, you can go here. You can create a service group, and then the service group needs to be assigned to the service type. Then there is a block reason code. So block reason code means what? So here you can define a reason code and I can assign them to the process. So that means if you want to use any reasons to block your processes in TM, okay, then you can define a reason code. Okay. So if you go here, you can create any. So these are the standard block reason codes which SAP has provided. And these reason codes are actually used later on in order to create your block profile. Okay, so I'll show you there where we do it. So this block reason code is actually used. So in case, for example, there is a time conflict while you're doing a planning. So whether you want to do a planning block, execution block, settlement block, confirmation block, all these things can be controlled through this configuration. So there are a lot of blocks: execution block, confirm block, settlement block, carrier invoicing block. So this is the blocks which is actually defining how the block should behave or impact your transportation process. So that is called as a block reason code. Okay. And in daily there are 35 reason codes. If you want to create your own particular reason code, you can always click on new entries and you can do it. Similarly, this is an event rejection code. Event rejection code means here, in case basically this is used only in case you are using an integration with SAP Event Management. So when you are listening in any, so that's why it says it's in a TM, EWM or TM setup. This is used. Okay, so this will actually tell you the reason for the why you are actually creating or triggering a particular event. Okay, so you can specify that, okay, for a specific event, this is the reason code for why I'm doing my cancellation or why I'm doing my rejection. So in standard SAP is given this three: cancelled by carriers, the planning is not ready. So this is the standard reason code, reason description. So this is the reason name and this is the reason code. So in the system, technically in the backend, basically or rather in the UI, you will not see this cancel underscore this one. You will see the cancel by carrier, but in the backend, the code is always there. And against this code, you can see which is the code you want to see in the folder. Okay. Similarly, this is the rejection vision code. So in case you want to reject any specific processes in TM, you can always reject or define a rejection code for them. So again, as I told you, this is again based on the the usage cases, the usage scenarios, and based on that, we can basically see how whether it's required or not required. Okay. And one important thing you need to do when you go into this user interface, please message the message settings. This message settings is very important because unless you maintain, so for example, for your specific user, you need to specify both because the message error may come either on an application level or at a UI level. And I need both levels to be logged. And here you have to specify what is the severity of the message. So it should be all messages, whether it's error or warning, and also what is the message detail level and what is the filter. And in case the particular message needs to be returned to the database, then you can see write PCC log to the database. Okay. Any question from anyone? I hope the entire master data part is clear to everyone because I will not come back to this data again and we are done with the master data. Okay, so now we will go into a little bit of a theoretical classes. Okay. So if you remember, I hope all of you can see my screen. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So now I'm going into the main process flow. So if you remember, there will be 4 pillars of your transport management. So that means now I know that this is my location, this is my network, this is what I'm going to use for my carrier. Now I can actually set up the process flows within TM. So although I've given you some hints about the automatic planning, manual planning, okay, I've given you some hints on that. But in order to set those up, basically master data was a prerequisite, right? As you have seen. So in order to do that, if you see the first pillar, what we will start off is your order management. So why it is called order management? The reason is when you are doing order management, as part of the order management process, we actually are. Yeah. As part of the order management, we are actually indicating to the system which order or which business object needs to be integrated with transport management. That is very, very important. The reason is today, suppose in your sales process, purchasing process, stock transport order process, consignment process, TPO process, direct procurement process. There are so many processes which is actually there in your particular logistical background, right? In S4HANA. But out of all this, maybe not all of them needs to be tracked and traced. Just to give an example, for example, an inbound process like purchase order. So basically you're getting it is a supplier's responsibility to get it from its own premise to the receiving plan, right? So why as a shipper I need to monitor? I don't need that. Or for example, it's a third party order process where where as a shipper, I don't care whether the third party processing is being done successfully or not. Okay. So that means somehow there has to be an identifier within your system which will indicate whether a particular order or a particular delivery needs to be integrated to TM. Okay, so that entire process is actually part of the order management. So order management actually is the triggering point for your transportation demand, or I would like to say a transportation requirement. So unless a requirement is there in your TM system, TM will not, or rather TM should not do anything, right? So that's the reason why order management is very critical and every processes in TM starts with order management. If you don't have order management, your particular flow will not get started. Okay. So if you see this, basically this transportation, as I told you, the TM needs a requirement and the requirement is triggered from my either from my ERP, which is in case my S4HANA, or in case sometimes if you are creating the order management outside S4HANA, that is through some interfaces and all, it can also set up the data or create or trigger the data in your TM system as well. And once the transportation management receives the demand or receives the requirement from this, from the order management part, it basically does the execution within its entire setup. Whether it creates a freight unit, whether it creates a freight order, freight booking, settlement, this is the subsequent processes of your order management. So unless the order management is there, you cannot proceed ahead. Okay. Now there is a quick difference between when you are working on this order management between your SD, rather I would like to say between a particular S4HANA and your ECC system. What is the difference there? The difference is whenever you are creating any order or delivery. So in case you are creating an order, it may create an order based requirement in TM. When you are creating a delivery, it will create a DTR. This object is optional, and this is I'm talking about the standalone part. So in standalone, we have got two documents which is created as a replica of the ECC document. If you want to create a document which is going to basically inform the planner much in advance what is the transportation to be planned for, then you can create an order based requirement. So this order based requirement is also called as an OTR, order based transportation requirement, and it captures all the transportation relevant information from these orders. Similarly, when you are creating a delivery, it will create a DTR. So DTR again will capture all the transportation relevant information from delivery. So these are the two additional objects which gets created in your TM system. Either, so as I told you, DTR is mandatory, OTR is not mandatory. And whenever these two documents are created, it will always create a freight unit. Okay. So ultimately, when TM works, TM actually works with freight unit. It actually does not do, or it does not do the planning based on OTR and DTR. All the planning is actually based on freight unit. So that's why when you move into S4HANA, you will see that these two objects do not get created. So I'll show you what happens so that you can follow me what I mean to say here. I'll give you both the flavor of the system so that you can see the difference between these two. Okay. Okay, first of all, I'm showing you in my standalone box. Okay, so if I create a sales order, so I'm putting my order quantity. Okay. So I've created my sales order. And when I created my sales order, if I go into the display mode or if I go into the change mode, I can see there will be a tab which is coming there. Okay. So this tab will indicate that this order, I'm integrating my order with my TM. Okay. And when I go into this TM, so because in standard, you'll see this TM status tab does not come out. Because in case you are not having any integration, or in case you are not having any specific linkage with TM, that can only be viewed in case this TM status tab does not come out. Okay. So the TM status tab indicates that you are integrating your order with your particular, with a particular transportation management system. Obviously, how will we do it? That is a thing which we'll obviously see in the course of time, but that is part of the configuration. And if you see here, when I click on this, if I click on the document flow, I'll see that when I'm creating my sales order, my OTR is getting created along with my freight unit. So that is what I showed you in the flow. So that means in case I want that my sales order should create a requirement document based on OTR, which is in TM. Okay. Now what is there in OTR and all, we'll see all this in details. Similarly, referencing this. So one thing here, if you see the document flow, the freight unit is also created because this is my planning document ultimately. And the freight unit number is 1615. Similarly, from the sales order, I would like to create a delivery. And I click on the save button. Okay. I click on the change. Okay. You can see that I have also got a TM status tab. Okay. And if you go into this TM status tab, if I click here, and I'll see here that my DTR is also getting created. And if you see now, the same freight unit which was earlier in OTR is now unassigned from OTR and it is reassigned to DTR. So that is what the flow is when you are creating with OTR and DTR. So now if I go back to the sales order again. So this is my sales order. You will see here now the flow. You created a sales order based on my sales order. This is my OTR document number. Now because you have created a delivery, my DTR is also created, and now see my freight unit. Now my freight unit is under my DTR. Clear? Any question? No. So if I go back to DTR, sorry, delivery document, I change the quantity. I go to delivery. See, also your DTR is also updated with 2 quantities. Okay. So whatever changes you are doing in your delivery document, and you can also open the DTR directly from here as well. So, sometimes your developer have to configure a link. They have to activate this SSO link, which we call as a single sign-on link. If the single sign-on link is activated, automatically my DTR will also open from your ECC server as well. In case it is not open, then it will not open. Okay. In any, I think this is clear, right? The ECC part. Now, this is I've shown in your standalone. Now, suppose you are getting an opportunity to work in S4HANA. So what will happen in S4HANA? Just see. I create a sales order. what is the sales order references I took here. This one. So if I see this. Okay. So if I click this, so I can create a sales order. Now it's in S400. Okay. I hope you're not getting confused, right? When I'm showing you standalone and then S4HANA, it's okay, right?
Yeah, we
Yes, right.
Okay. So now see what I do, instead of 40 quantities, I'm just using sales order 5 quantities. I click on save. And now suppose I create a delivery. So if you see here, okay, let me first show you the sales order, how it looks like. I've activated sales order for TM. And now if you see, you'll not find any OTR here. See, no OTR. Directly sales order is creating freight unit, which is a 5. Okay. And now so I create a delivery. I move into the change mode. And here you see the delivery is created, which is a 500. Now suppose I change the quantity here to 10. Now what will happen? See, because I have created a splitting rule. So I'll show you later. I have created a split rule that because it is moving from German to USA, my freight unit should not exceed more than 7. But here I have specified 10. So that's why it split it up into 2 items. One is of 7 quantity, another is of 3 quantity. Okay. Clear?
And in case of this HANA, the setting to bring in that TM tab in the delivery remains the same, like the config, backend configs for that.
Concept is same. Only the nodes are different. I will all show you. I'll show you for both. Okay. And then suppose what I do now. Now I have changed the delivery from 5 to 10. So I can do one more thing. I can directly go into the sales order also because sales order is now 5, right? I can go to BA02. So instead of 5, I suppose now I have a recommend of 15 quantities. Okay. I click on save. Because my delivery is of 10 quantities, so I can create one more delivery from here, right? Of 5 quantities, right? See, automatically 5 will come. Now, if I go on to the display mode, so see the freight on quantity is 5. Now, but if you go into the, the flow for this, TM status tab, document flow. See the flow now. I have the sales order. There are two delivery documents, one of 1032, which is of 10 quantity, another is of this quantity. Okay. And because I have basically specifically specified that particular breaking law, okay, that means I can create actually two delivery documents here, right? One is a 1030, 1032, and a corresponding freight unit also. You have seen that. Okay, and for the second delivery, it has split it into two because the quantity should not exceed 7. And for the first, anyway, it is 5. So why I show you this? Because the reason is whatever changes you make in your order or delivery, which is your order management, it automatically propagates to TL. That is irrespective of whether it's sales or whether it's S4HANA or sidecar. The only difference is that if you see, we don't have an additional document of OTR and DTR here. Okay, because of these two additional documents, you can understand because the systems are too different. Lot of monitoring, lot of messages, inflow, outflow needs to be monitored. And ultimately, OTR, DTR is just a replica of your request documents. Ultimately, planning has to be done with reference to the freight unit. So whether it's in your S4HANA, whether it's in your stand card, freight unit is the starting document for your specific flow. Okay, so that's why to have more simplification, we use freight unit, or rather we use S4HANA as the future roadmap. Because here it is more simplified. Directly create a freight order, from freight order you do the planning. But in case you have to do in your the other system, which is a standalone system, you have to also basically create OTR, DTR, and in case somewhere some queues are stuck up, you have to again do the analysis, monitoring. So that's why the simplification is achieved with S4HANA. Is it clear to everyone? Any question from anyone?
No.
Okay. Now what we have to do to bring this TM tag? That is the question, right? What do we have to do? So I will start today with S4HANA because configuration wise logic is all same. Only the nodes are little bit different because when we talk about S4HANA, we have all the nodes in the same server, same instance. But when we talk about TM, we because are also creating OTR, DTR, so the configuration menu path is little bit more as compared to this one. But the concept lies all the same. What is that concept? The concept is about this control key. So control key is the most critical thing. So whenever you don't find this TM status tab, you always need to check that somewhere something has gone wrong with this control key. Because this control key, if it is not assigned properly to the proper system, you will not be able to basically, find out, you will not be able to get this TM status tab. And if TM status tab is not there, no freight unit. And if no freight unit means no planning, no execution, nothing. So today we will discuss only about the control key. So when we are starting the, so this is my S4HANA. So today we'll talk only about S4HANA. Please let me know if it is confusing because I'm trying to be very slow and try to compare you for both the systems. Okay, so that you can benefit from both S4HANA as well as the standalone. Is it okay for everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. Okay.
Yes.
So right now I'm into S4HANA. So in order to have what is the configuration for order management? So the configuration is you go here, you go to transport management. Under transportation management, you will have a tab called as an integration. When you come into integration, you will find a tab called as a logistics integration. And when you go into logistics integration, you will have a tab called as an internal TM. Why internal TM? Because the TM is embedded. In case you have a sidecar TM in S4, please note there are two variations. If you remember the deployment, then only go for external. Because here you are only using ECC, but if you want to integrate with your external TM which is in S4HANA, then only this external. So this external means I can OTR declare. Okay. So within S4HANA ECC also you can access through internal, external, whether it is embedded or sidecar. So when you go into internal, first of all, we need to define the control key. So in the control key, if you see, there are integration modes called as external and internal. So our thing is that because it's all S4HANA, so it has to be internal. The internal starts with 51. So if you go here, internal means embedded. So these are all SAP defined. I have not done anything. As I told you, always try to use standard. Some of my colleagues have tried to create a C and all, but anyway, it does not make too much of value addition because whatever you are using the standard. So what does this control key mean? Control key will tell you which of the documents needs to be transferred to your TM system. So whether you want to integrate a sales order to transport management, purchase order to transport management, outbound delivery to TM, inbound delivery to TM. If you want to perform any scheduling, so this scheduling function is not released till now. It will be released in the next version. If you want to also transfer your, information based on purchase order confirmation, this is also not released, and based on planning status. So let's keep this 3 out. So the most critical is this 4, because you need to know what you want to integrate with TM. So if you say I only want to integrate SO to TM, I will select 51. Where that selection is done, I will come into the next step. If you want to integrate both your sales order as well as outbound delivery, then you have to select 52. If you want to integrate only your outbound delivery, then it is 52. So all these updates, what you see here. So if you want to integrate your purchase order process, then you have to use 54. 55 is both your PO as well as inbound delivery, and 56 is only inbound delivery. So all the integrations of what you want to transfer, that is always available here. So now if you compare this, see where is my S4HANA system went. Yeah, if you go into this particular sales order or go to delivery, for example, I go to a delivery. Okay, you'll find the control key is always populated. Because 52 means I also want to integrate my outbound delivery. Description. Okay, so once you have defined this control key parameter, what I tell you, don't need to create anything. Standard is sufficient. It covers all scenarios. The next important thing is where we use this control key. So if you want to integrate with your sales document, then here you need to specify what is my sales of, what is my distribution channel, what is my division, what is my sales document type, what is my shipping condition, and what is the control. Leave this aside. This thing is used to trigger your freight unit. If you see here, so there are 2 features what you need to keep in mind. One is the creation of this TM status tab, which is coming through the control key. And if this freight unit which is created, this creation is because of this logistics profile. We'll see the logistics profile later. So in my case, because I was using the sales of DOG and all, okay. My sales document one was DOG, ZOG. So if you see this, it is for your, sorry, this is for your, I have to go here, sorry. This is for my sales order. So for my sales order, you see ZDOG. So for my ZDOG, I have maintained an entry here. I'm sorry, and what is the sales org and sales group 2020-0101? 2020 01 01. See, this one is there. So that's why you get that entry in the sales order. So in the sales order, you basically, if you want to integrate your sales order, you need to have an entry here. Against the combination of sales order, distribution channel, division, sales document type, shipping conditions. If you want to basically activate your delivery document, that means if you want to say that I only want my TM relevancies for delivery document, in that case, you have to specify it here. See, this is the, because of 2020, I have this entry. So in the delivery document also, I got the TM status tab. So this particular delivery document is for both outbound as well as inbound delivery. So you have to maintain for which shipping point, for which delivery type, for which shipping condition, what is the control. Any question here? Okay. Is the concept clear? So always remember, in order to integrate anything, you have to specifically specify the control key setup. Similarly, if you want to integrate your purchasing scenario, then you have to specify this purchasing document, purchase out, purchasing group, order type against this control key. So this is for purchasing. So what SAP has done, SAP has basically segregated the order part on sales and purchasing, and they have combined the delivery part together, inbound and outbound delivery. Okay. So this three is very critical. And the same setup is also there in your ECC. But I just wanted all of you to become conversant with the S/4HANA, that within S/4HANA, you go to the logistics integration, and under logistics integration, you need to create this control key. Initially setup will be there, and then the sales document, purchase document, and delivery document setup should be added. Okay. And if you want to create your logistics profile, because if you see whether you are creating your sales or purchasing, okay, you have always need to have this logistics profile, because this logistics profile will actually control the creation of your freight unit. So if I go here, if I go to TM status tab, if I go to the freight unit, okay. And if you see here, whenever I'm clicking on this freight unit, I always have a freight unit billing rule. So this rule will actually control how many freight units are going to be created. So when I come into freight unit, I'll tell you what are those rules and all. But my objective was to tell you that whenever you are creating this particular sales document and all, you always need to create a profile, and this profile creation is done here. So my profile was ZOGL. Okay. And in the ZOGL, if you see here, sorry, not ZOGL, this one. DOGL, sorry, DOGL. So when I go to DOGL, Okay, this is my DOGL. So here you need to basically specify the logistics profile. And within the logistics profile, you see the freight unit billing rule is there. So this freight unit billing rule is the one which is appearing in your particular freight unit. So every freight unit billing rule has to be assigned to a logistics profile. And as I told you, freight unit is always created automatically. So always this tick mark will be there. Okay. So what is freight unit? I will tell you later on. But the ultimate objective of freight unit is to make sure that my planning is executed with the help of this, because freight unit will actually let you know where I am transporting, what I am transporting, and when I am transporting. All this information is there in your freight unit. And either you can create a rule or you can use a condition. You cannot use both. Condition means, so for example, you can have a dynamic determination of your freight unit billing rule. So for example, if you can tell me, okay, my shipping point SP01 is my shipping point. For that, my freight unit billing rule is FUBR1. If it is SP02, my freight unit billing rule is FUBR2, something like that. That means you see there is a dynamic determination based on location, or maybe it can be based on unit of measurement, anything. Your freight unit billing rule is varying. If such type of things come into the scenario, then only you have to use this condition concept. And condition in TM is actually done using our application called as a BRF Plus, Business Rules Framework. I'll come to this BRF Plus later on. It is a little bit technical in nature, but in case you want to use it, you may use it. Stage profile and stage profile condition is not used for shipper. This is mainly used for LSP, where these profiles are being used basically to create multiple stages in your freight unit. We have seen default route and all others, how we can create a multiple stage, right? Similarly, if you are using stage profile, that is another way to populate multi-stage in your LIP or in your freight unit. This is the Incoterm location stage building. So Incoterm location means basically based on certain Incoterms, you can actually decide how many stages will be built up. Okay. So for example, if you have an Incoterm free on board, okay. So based on an Incoterm, you know, we have got an Incoterm free text, right? Inco 2. I don't know how much you have seen that in sales order. So if you are maintaining the free text, that free text can be used to split your freight unit into two stages. So my first stage should be stage 1 will be for my shipping point. Shipping point to my Incoterm location. And stage 2 will be Incoterm location to my customer location. So if you want to have such type of state split up based on Incoterm, then only this is required, or else this is not required. And plan on requested, that means whether you want to do your planning in TM based on any requested or confirmed quantity. So if you don't have the confirmation process set up in your system, always better to do it based on the requested quantity, because if you are doing based on actual confirmed quantity, the system will not be able to build up your freight unit if no confirmation is done in your sales order or purchase order. So in case in your particular scenario don't have that, then no need to do that. And finally, if you want that some updates should come back from your warehouse management system back into transport management, then you can always do the integration based on actual quantity. That means, for example, your sales order plan quantity is 5, delivery is 5, your TM also does the planning based on 5, but maybe in the warehouse, there was some discrepancy, there was some damage by the carrier, and at the time of loading, it is 3. So there is a discrepancy of 2 quantity. So if you want to have the actual quantity updates back from your warehouse back into TM, then you should always do the integration based on actual quantity. Okay. Please note again, this logistics profile word will not find it in your TM sidecar. So I'll start with the TM sidecar, this order management integration tomorrow. But I just wanted to give you a feel. What is the differences you get when you are integrating TM with sidecar and when you are integrating TM with your S4HANA. So tomorrow we'll start the one with the sidecar. Okay.
One question, this integration based on actual quantity from the warehouse, this is not with the ECC warehouse, this is with EWM, right?
Yeah, if you also want to know, if you don't have EWM, you will also, in ECC also, suppose you have a third party WMS, right? Where you're picking, packing, loading will happen, right? So in that case, that updates also, if you're integrating TM with those third party 3PL warehouses also, that updates will happen update here. That can also happen. It is not always with EWM, but it can happen with any other part as well. Okay. Any other question from anyone?
When quick check for the integration profile and everything set up in S4HANA, you mentioned it is done in the same box for standalone. It is done in ECC or in TM. I just want to cross check.
Yes. So we don't have this integration profile available in your ECC standalone. That's what I will come tomorrow on that. So we have to make the necessary settings in transport management because these objects are transport management objects. But there are certain things which we also need this control key setup and all. We need to do it in ECC. So tomorrow we'll go into deep details in the sidecar. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then. So we stop here and tomorrow we'll start with the order management integration, not integration, the configuration in sidecar. We'll see how it works. Okay. Where are the settings we need to do?
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to visit our Vimeo page and follow for more upcoming videos.